Welcome back, Endgame community. It's Chris, and let's talk about some buy low and sell high players that can help you win fantasy championships down the stretch. And let's start with a buy low player who I talked about last week, and that is Calvin Ridley. I think this is your last chance to go trade for Calvin Ridley before people realize he's still a top 10, if not a top 5 fantasy wide receiver, right? He missed week 5 with that mysterious personal issue that we still don't know what happened. Week 6 was the team's bye. Now he's coming out of the bye. Not only is that a huge deal when you're trading for a player because you don't have to worry about his bye week anymore, but whoever has Calvin Ridley probably hasn't been very satisfied with Calvin Ridley over the first, 4 weeks and has gotten literally 0 from him the last 2 weeks. So he or she may be in a position where they don't feel that great about Calvin Ridley right now. So I still think Calvin Ridley has top 5 upside, at worst top 10 fantasy upside in PPR leagues for wide receivers. So I would absolutely be going out and seeing if I could get Calvin Ridley on the relatively cheap. Now, I want to talk about a sell high, and that is Josh Jacobs. Jacobs has 4 touchdowns in 4 games, which is great, but those touchdowns account for almost half of his PPR fantasy points this year. That is completely unsustainable. When he doesn't score, he's giving you almost nothing. And even when he does score, he's not giving you a lot. Yes, 17 points, 16 points, 15 points. That's not going to kill you. That's also not going to win you a championship or win you your week. Even in week 1, when he scored twice, he only got you 17 fantasy points, right? He just doesn't have that league-winning upside, but people think he does. They view him as a low-end RB1, high-end RB2, when he's more like a borderline RB2 at best and very touchdown dependent. So you should absolutely be trying to trade Josh Jacobs right now, assuming you have enough running back depth, which I know not everybody has, but if you do, definitely be looking to trade him for a very nice, very good, solid wide receiver 2 type to a team who needs a running back really badly and still thinks Josh Jacobs is an elite fantasy asset. All right, let's jump back to the buy lows, and I'm going to say you need to be trading for Keenan Allen right now, right? I know, coming off a terrible week 6, now heading into the team's bye, that's the lowest a player's value is ever going to be, right? Because the team who has Keenan Allen, they might be in win now mode, and they can't, survive a week of Keenan Allen on the bench. So if you can go out and trade something halfway decent for Keenan Allen to a team who desperately needs to win right now, they may take that offer. And as far as Keenan Allen is concerned, talked about him on the Panic Players video. Go check that out if you haven't already. We'll finish this video, then go check it out. But he's had 8 or more targets in every single game, and he's had 10 or more targets in half of his game. Week 6 was a total blip on the radar for the Chargers. You got to ignore that. But the person who has Keenan Allen may not be ignoring it, and they may be looking at Keenan Allen thinking Mike Williams is the alpha there. Keenan Allen's not involved. He's not going to be as good. I don't buy it. I think Keenan Allen is going to be great. The volume is still there for Keenan Allen. Justin Herbert is still great. All the signs are pointing to Keenan Allen being great. Go out and buy him low if you can. All right, let's move back to another sell high, and that is Chris Godwin, who, you think, wow, part of the Buccaneers, you want a piece of that offense if you can get it, but kind of under the radar, Chris Godwin's taking a back seat here as almost kind of the wide receiver 3, because we've seen in games where Mike Evans, where the outside corners are soft, Mike Evans dominates. In the games where they have tough outside corners, like what we saw on Thursday night in week 6, where Darius Slay and those outside corners did a great job against Mike Evans, it's not Chris Godwin who gets the benefit of that. It's Antonio Brown, right? So Chris Godwin kind of running as the number 3 wide receiver here, but you can still trade this guy as, a high-end wide receiver 2 type of value to a team, especially to a wide receiver needy team who thinks Chris Godwin is still going to be the guy there, and I just don't think it's going to happen. Yes, he'll have his weeks, of course, in this offense. Everybody's going to have their weeks, but I think most weeks it's going to be Mike Evans or Antonio Brown, with Chris Godwin sprinkled in every now and then. So if you could trade him for a solid, RB2 type, that would be a great move to make, because running backs are very hard to find these days. And if you have depth at wide receiver and you could part with Chris Godwin, I would absolutely be looking to trade him for an upgrade at running back. All right, back to the buy lows, and I'm going to go with the injured guy, and that is David Montgomery. So went on IR 2 weeks ago. We have 1 week left before he's eligible to come off IR or be activated from IR. That doesn't mean he'll be active or play right away. He could miss another week or two. He could miss all the way till the team's week 10 bye. But here's why I think now is a great time to go trade for David Montgomery, because people just saw what Khalil Herbert did in week 6, the rookie, and they're going to tell themselves a story that Khalil Herbert is going to be the guy and David Montgomery's not coming back to a job. That's not how it's going to work. Okay. Next week, Damian Williams should be back from COVID. We could see more of a split with these guys. But right now, after what happened in week 6, people think Khalil Herbert is going to be the guy and is going to take David Montgomery's job. So go to the David Montgomery owner who's got him on his bench, who's injured, and you could probably get him for a very, very fair price. In fact, if I had Chris Godwin and I didn't need Chris Godwin, I would absolutely trade him for David Montgomery right now. Wait a few weeks, David Montgomery comes back, and you have a high-end RB2 and an advantage over your entire league. Real quick, guys, before I do get to the last few players here, I do want to say, if you would like to support the channel, we need it. We would appreciate it. Our Patreon is growing like crazy. We have an awesome Sunday morning live show that we do with our patrons only. It's incredible. And you can support us and join that show, plus get tons of other perks for less than a cup of coffee for the entire month. So if you want to support us, you want to see us grow and get better and do more things and be able to give you guys more stuff and more info, check out that link down in the description to support us on our Patreon page. All right, let's get into the last 3 here, and let's start with a running back sell high, and that is Antonio Gibson. Now, admittedly, he's coming off a very poor week 6 game, but he had 3 very good games prior to week 6, and people still may think that he's that guy, and they may value him very highly. Here's why I would be trying to trade Antonio Gibson right now. It's not because of his usage or anything. It's because of that injury. We saw it affect him a little bit in week 6 when he had to leave the game, came back in, and then had to leave the game again. Now, if somebody's not savvy and they don't know that that happened, they just might think he had a bad game. I mean, he had a couple bad games to start the season, and then he had 3 great games. So people can look past that usually. But you don't want to be the guy stuck with Antonio Gibson if this ends up being an injury that A, really hinders his snaps and his workload, or B, leads to a long-term, possibly season-ending type of injury. So I would absolutely be trying to trade Antonio Gibson right now if I had him before it was too late. And then how about a tight end buy low? And I'm going to say Dallas Goedert is somebody you need to be trying to get if you need a tight end. And let's be honest, we almost all need a tight end, right? Because Zach Ertz was just traded to the Arizona Cardinals. And that means Dallas Goedert is now the only real tight end on the Eagles, right? And one thing about the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, they've been targeting the tight ends a lot. Well, I should say he's been targeting the tight ends a lot. About a 25% target share for the tight ends there in Philadelphia. And we've seen Zach Ertz over the last 4 games had 3 top 12 tight end weeks. I don't see why Dallas Goedert can't do the same. He's going to play all the snaps. He's going to get plenty of targets. Look, he's better than any tight end on your waiver wire. I promise you that, unless somehow, Mike Gesicki is still on your waiver, which would be crazy. So go out and trade for Dallas Goedert. And look, whoever has Dallas Goedert hasn't been playing Dallas Goedert because Dallas Goedert hasn't been doing very well. They'll probably take almost nothing for Dallas Goedert. Just find somebody on your bench who's halfway decent that you don't need and go get Dallas Goedert and get yourself an every week top 10, top 12 tight end that you can just set and forget, which let me tell you, that's a nice feeling to have at tight end. And then finally, let's finish with one more sell high, and that is Robert Woods. Coming off another disappointing week. He did score a touchdown, though. He did score 11 fantasy points, so it wasn't a total disaster. So he still has a little bit of value, but this value, you guys, this value is disappearing quickly. You need to trade him now while you can. Now, you're not going to be able to trade him for a high-end, a low-end RB1 or a high-end RB2 because his value is probably too low for that. But if you can go out and trade him for a solid running back or even a solid wide receiver who people may not value as highly as him, maybe like a Michael Pittman type, I would do that. You know what else I would do? I would 100% trade Robert Woods for David Montgomery right now, assuming you're not in a team who has to win, like you're not 2-4 or something like that where you have to win. If you can hold David Montgomery for a few weeks, I would 100% trade Robert Woods for David Montgomery right now. Look, Robert Woods, great player, but it's the Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp show in LA. Just the way it is. It's the way it's going to be. Trade Robert Woods before his value is completely gone. All right, guys, those are my week 6 buy low, sell high trade targets. I want to hear from you now. Who are some players you're trying to buy low or sell high on? Comment below. Let me know. And of course, don't forget, down below, check out the links. We've got our link to our Patreon. We would appreciate your support so much. And you get 10 times the value of our Patreon of what it costs. Like, for sure, absolutely, no doubt about that. Also, we got a link down below to our free Discord server. You definitely want to get in there. Awesome communications and chats all week long. And of course, don't forget, hit the thumbs up, click that subscribe button. We appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time.